Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. So I was just going through my email here and I figured I'd answer this question since this is a pretty good question and I don't think I've really been asked this very often here. So this question is from Raymond and he says, "Good morning, John. My name is Raymond. I emailed you in the past regarding a couple of questions regarding mental strength when becoming a programmer. I have another question for you, more of a personal one. I watched your video, How to Raise Your Set Points by Changing Your Circle," which you can of course check out there, which is a great video, I might add. "I like to network and meet new people. I am naturally nice to people. I do not mind developing relationships with new people, but there's this one important foundation that is hindering that: trust. I've experienced some bad relationships in my 29 years of living, and I'm faced with this million-dollar question every day of my life: can I really trust again? I'm going to become a successful developer. I'm speaking that into existence." That's good. "I've contracted with several companies doing IT support, being the only employee in my department without a degree. And I guess people turn their noses up at me because I'm the only one in my department without a degree, and I know what I'm doing. No, I don't know everything, and yes, I make mistakes, so those mistakes happen. I've had employees try to talk down to me. So my question for you is, what is an efficient way to begin building healthy relationships with people? With programming, coding being as big as it is, one human brain cannot process everything to know about coding. Outside of reading and staying up to date with the industry, I believe you need relationships. Thanks." So there's a couple of things in here, but first I'm going to answer the main question of this, which is basically like, what is an efficient way to begin building healthy relationships with people? So this is actually a pretty simple answer here, and the answer to this question is help them. The best way to build relationships with people is to give them some value, right? You know, in fact, what I'm doing right now when I'm making these videos is I'm building a relationship with you, right? A lot of you that watch these videos, that listen to my podcast, that read my blog, that have read my book, it's all about creating value for you, and that is building this relationship. Yes, it's mostly one-sided. But you know, I get lots of emails from those of you that watch the videos that are in the Simple Programmer community, and so you know, we do have, you know, a relationship, hopefully, and that's what I'm trying to build, and you know, I'm doing it at a bigger level, obviously, but in any kind of relationship, the biggest thing that you're going to do that is going to increase that relationship for you is by creating value for the other person. Now that looks different in a lot of different ways for a lot of different relationships and a lot of different people. So you kind of have to know first of all, the context of what type of relationship is this, and then how does that person perceive value? Sometimes it's not just giving them stuff. Sometimes it's not just giving them what they want or being, quote, nice to them, right? Especially when we're talking about romantic relationships. Sometimes that's actually a bad way to give value. It's really about anticipating what their needs are and then fulfilling those needs regardless of what the relationship is, but it depends on the context. So for example, you know, we've all gotten Christmas presents, or you know, presents at some time. Maybe not all Christmas presents, but have you noticed that the present that you like the most is not necessarily the one you want the most, but the most thoughtful one, right? So if someone anticipates, they get you something, the best present that you ever get is something that you didn't even know that you wanted, right? That you didn't know existed, but that person anticipated your needs so well that they gave you value that you didn't even know that you needed. And that's what's awesome, right? And that's what, hopefully, you know, when you're listening to this video, when you're watching this channel, hopefully that's what I'm doing, is that you're like, oh, I didn't even think about this kind of area of my life. I'm just a programmer, but look at this. Now there's all this other stuff out there that I didn't even think to look for. So that's the key thing, is really giving value. If you can give people value, you're going to build relationships. Don't always, you know, I hate the word networking, because networking is this thing where we go around and we give our business cards out and we look to see what people can do for us and what kind of jobs they can give us and all that. And that is horrible. Don't do that. Instead, go out and look and see, you know, how can you change the world today? Whose life can you improve? And that's going to build relationships. If you can always be doing that, if you're always a person who gives value, if everyone's like, oh, when they see you, they know that you're going to be giving them some kind of value, that you're going to be helping them in some way, that's going to build the strongest and best relationships, and those are the ones that you can count on. Not the taker. You want to be the giver in this case, right? Not that you don't, that you, again, there's a fine line between that and being walked on. You don't want to be walked on, but you want to try to create as much value for people as possible. Now, let's get on to a couple of issues that I have in this email here. So I've answered your question, but I do want to talk about a few things, because I'm looking at this email from just the tone, and I could be wrong. Again, I'm just reading one email here, but I see two things that stand out to me. One of them is the trust, of not being able to trust people. And then the other one is talking about developers that are turning their nose at you because you're the only one in the department without a degree in knowing what I'm doing. Again, we're going to get into some of the tough love here, but I have to say this because I think that, based on this, and also you're talking about people talking down to you. Forget about all of that stuff, because that's the stuff that's going to hold you back. If you think in those terms, you're expecting a certain thing from the world, from people, right? And expectations are going to lead to frustration because you're going to be let down, and they also in anger, and they're also going to let you off the hook, because if you're doing something wrong, but you use basically these justifications to say, oh, this person's looking down at me, or I can't trust them, or what was the last one here? Basically that they look down at me, or they because you don't have a degree, whatever it is. If those are issues, fix the issues, right? I talked about this. I did this video about looking in the mirror. This is where, take an honest look in the mirror and say, what's going on here, and how can I fix these problems? So again, I don't want to sidetrack too far here, but I'm just reading some of this in your email that is making me a little bit concerned, because when you're saying these things, again, you have a great question here. I'm not trying to knock you in any way. I appreciate you taking the question, but I'm going to be totally honest with you, because that's what's going to help you, right? That's how I'm creating, hopefully, value for you, is by being totally honest and not saying, well, I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. So all I'm saying here is, again, just take a look at those kind of statements and figure out for yourself where those are coming from, right? Why are you saying those type of things? Why are you valuing those type of things? To me, those sound like excuses, maybe justifications in your head that may be preventing you from seeing the actual full truth, which is going to prevent you from being able to make changes that are going to be able to actually have impact in your life. So anyway, just something to think about there. And I appreciate the question. I think it's a good question. And like I said, it's really simple. It's just creating value for people. But the hard part about this is, kind of like the 5 love languages. There's a book on this. It's okay, right? I think it's worth the read, but I don't necessarily agree with 100% of it. But anyway, it's really about figuring out what actually creates value for someone else. And a lot of times that is anticipating their needs. So anyway, if you have a question for me, email me at john@simpleprogrammer.com. And if you like this video, subscribe to the channel. I will talk to you next time. Take care.